Hello, Kenny. Welcome to Mauritius. It's great to have you here with us. What makes Absa Mauritius strategically distinct within the group? And as you engage on the ground here, can you tell us about what you're most keen to better understand about Mauritius?
Well, thank you for that question, Vanessa. I think let me start with your first comment in relation to the importance of clients as well as our own people. I regard clients and people as two sides of the same coin. We would not have a business unless we do meaningful things for our clients. So we have to understand their business. We have to be relevant to them. We have to understand their needs and make sure that the way we're set up as an organization is appropriate to be able to service those needs in a manner that requires or rather meet what clients require at that point in time. If I look at Mauritius, it is well positioned, one of the sort of financial centers of the world that can provide services in a manner that is seamless. Firstly, from the ability to sweep their surplus deposit and liquidity elsewhere into Mauritius, which give them the flexibility to deploy that liquidity to various parts of their businesses as and when required. There are many geographies that offer that seamless, that have a regulatory environment that permits for that. The second advantage that Mauritius has is its location. It is, in a sense, in a position where you have access to the rest of the African continent, access to Middle East and Europe, access to Asia, whilst at the same time it is also slightly detached and therefore can be insulated from some of the global turmoil that we see in many of the regions of the world. And I think that's quite unique, and that's something that has to be leveraged and taken advantage of. There's a lot that clients have been doing within Mauritius, but that requires of our own businesses within Absa to be well coordinated and to act as one and in unison. When a client is in Kenya, a client needs to know that the services that can be offered from Mauritius, which requires then our own Kenyan team to also have knowledge of that and to be connected to the team here in Mauritius. The same would be true for any other geography where Absa has a presence. So we're here to ensure that we can connect the dots and encourage the connectivity across the different parts of Absa throughout our footprint.
Given the growing competition that we see today among IFCs and the rising client expectations around delivery, what would make Mauritius and Absa Mauritius the most compelling platform for Africa-linked flows?
We've been in the global business for a long time as a country, for the last 30 or 35 years. And I think we are a proven and tested jurisdiction. But having said that, there's competition all the time. I think it's important we stay relevant to the demand of the client, to the expectation of the client as a country. So making sure that we competitive, but more importantly, compelling for client to use Mauritius. So trade flows and investment flows into India, that was our business initially. Now it's more and more into Africa. I think it's important that we have a value proposition for clients as a country to ensure they use that. And I think we've done that well. But we work working very closely with authorities, regulators, to ensure to continuously improve on the platform so that client feel it's easier to work for Mauritius. As Absa Mauritius, we've been in business for a long time. Actually, this is the bigger part of our business. We're the first bank to get a license in the global business, and we are used to that. So we know client expectation. Having said that, the demand of clients now is getting more complex and they're more demanding. Rightly so, rightly so. And for us to be relevant to them and to make sure that we capture our market share and grow that market share, it's important that our value proposition is one that serves the client. We're not pushing products. We're making sure we're finding solutions for client and making sure that the service level is one where it's top-notch all the time. I think the USP that we also have, we are present on the continent. So the destination countries, we are present there. So it's easier for clients that in the destination country, we've got Absa present. When investment and trade flows go there, we have a home for that. And we can, as a result, then give more products to the client, including complex products in currency in the destination country. So it will be platform, it will be service, and it will be people, making sure that we deliver all the time.
You frame leadership as managing talent, inspiring and mobilizing people, steering organizations through uncertainty while giving people hope about the future. How are you bringing that to life today across Absa to ensure that we deliver consistently for clients while also positioning the group for long-term sustainable growth?
When people ask me, what do I do at Absa? And I said this in one of the international meetings that I attended when I was asked, so what do you do at Absa? I said, my job is to sort of spot talent management. They said, oh, so you are in HR or human capital and so on. I said, yes, you can put it that way. I think the primary role of leaders is to always find talented people and make sure that you surround yourself with people who are better than you. If you do that as a leader, half your job is done because suddenly you have created that intellectual capability around you to solution, to develop appropriate strategy, and to adapt as and when you execute on the strategy. So it is always important for leaders to recognize that alone, there's very little that they can do. In fact, it's near impossible to achieve organizational transformation and organizational performance if you do not have a good team. And I regard, therefore, the primary responsibility of leaders as being to assemble the strongest possible team. And that's what I've been trying to do since joining Absa, trying to see where can we plug the gaps. Let us try and find the best possible team around from within Absa as well as from outside of Absa, so that ultimately we have an A team in the game that can be equal to the task of competing with any other financial institution out there. I think we're starting to see some very, very good results. The energy within Absa is being released. I have met an amazing team here in Mauritius. The quality of the management team is second to none. And this is the energy that we want to tap into and make sure that that energy can be leveraged to connect to other sources of energy throughout the Absa group. So the second part then is about unlocking this energy by having a culture that is driven by three things. Firstly, a culture that is client-centric. It's easier said than done, but big organizations can be so internally focused, so obsessed with internal processes, that these processes develop a life of their own. And we forget that these processes exist in order for us to deliver value to clients. So we have to force ourselves to be client-centric, to always think about what's the impact on clients. The second cultural shift that we're trying to do is to be obsessed with outcomes, i.e., how do we make sure that we make an impact in the sorts of things that we do? We can have all sorts of committees, all sorts of meetings, and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, if you ask the question, what have we achieved? If we can't show in a tangible way what we've achieved, then clearly we have not been outcome focused. We have been preoccupied with ourselves internally and so on. And the third is about the sense of self-confidence and a belief that we can win, that we're performance-driven and so on. And that's absolutely important. There is no team, whether it's in football, rugby, or if you take individual sport, tennis or boxing, if a player or a team does not believe that it can win, there's no point in even going into the match or into the game. So we have to believe that we can win, that we've got what it takes, and we can deliver appropriate solutions to the clients and be performance-driven. And it is those two elements, in my view, that are so fundamental to leadership.
How do you plan to ensure that Mauritius remains relevant over the next few years within that broader group ambition and strategy?
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. I think it's very important. First, I think there are expectations by the group, and we have to deliver on those. Not only talk about them, but deliver on those consistently. And what are those? Making sure the returns are right. Making sure we are good trustee of the brand on the island. Making sure that we've got a business that's connecting, as Kenny said, the dots on the continent. So how do we make sure that, given our IFC position, given that we're a country and a bank with hard currency deposit, how do we make sure that we use that and we use that to fund our clients across the continent? So today we represent around 12% of the Arrow region's headline earning. I think we need to make sure we are around there and higher, making sure that we are part of the ecosystem. So the way we're thinking about it, it's client first, group second, then country third. I think it's important to work for the client. And where the income or the profit sits, it's secondary, but the client needs to be fair. So to stay relevant to that, I think we've got a number of Pan-African clients. We've got a number of clients that's dealing with multi-digit. It's important to work for them. So have that in the way we do business is important.
So if we fast forward 3 years from now, what would need to be fundamentally different for you to say that the group has meaningfully progressed?
I think if we are able to look back in 3 years' time and look at an organization that is characterized by high performance, where people feel that they are working for a winning organization, and we're able to attract talent where they see Absa as the primary place that they want to work in. I think if we're able to do that, then we would have achieved a lot. Because at the end of the day, the organization is dependent on the quality of the people that you have, the culture, the energy, and the sense of self-belief. Everything else will follow. We would be relevant to clients. Clients will regard us as the most appropriate and relevant bank that they want to do business with. And the financial numbers that Ravin spoke about will follow. I think the main thing that we have to drive is firstly make sure that we have a culture of winning and there's a sense of self-belief. And through that will then be a magnet for talent, a magnet for client, and ultimately be able to deliver our own financial targets. And I think that's achievable. And I think we will be able to get there.
Thank you, Kenny. Very inspiring. So that brings us to a close. Thank you very much for joining us for this short interview. Thank you, Ravin, as well. It was great having you with us.